Welcome to episode 5 of The 6 Shifts with Jan Birkins and Kari Yates, co-authors of Shifting the Balance, 6 Ways to Bring the Science of Reading into the Balanced Literacy Classroom, published by Stenhouse. In today's episode, Jan and Kari, with Stenhouse's Dan Tobin, discuss the 4th shift, revising high-frequency word instruction.
Welcome back to the podcast. As we continue our path through each of the 6 shifts outlined in Shifting the Balance, let's step back a minute and remind our listeners of the larger context for the book.
Well, Dan, we really wanted to take on some of these competing tensions in the field. Balanced literacy has become sort of a loaded term lately, and nevertheless, we hold tight to this promise of the term balance because of how it so beautifully defines the complex and informed equilibrium classroom teachers must constantly pursue, right? In a field brimming with competing tensions.
And we also believe that competing tensions are what keep us sort of honest and evolving as human beings and in our professional practice. They push us on our understandings and practices. And so leaning into the research versus practice tension is really at the heart of Shifting the Balance.
So let's turn to chapter 4 on high-frequency words. I was surprised by this chapter. I thought there was a broad consensus that memorizing sight words is just something that children have to do. But in this chapter, you upset that long-held belief. Talk about what you learned about sight word instruction as you were developing the book.
Well, you're right, Dan. There is a near consensus on, this idea that kids have to just memorize words. And this chapter really does have some heft. I mean, we all learned in Reading 101 in our undergraduate teaching classes that sight words are more accurately high-frequency words. They just have to be memorized because they're irregular and you can't sound them out. And our instructional practices have consequently been heavy with things like flashcards and rote memorization, which are anything but engaging and certainly not joy-filled typically. And they're really not that aligned with the heart of balanced literacy either. So they've been kind of this place of disconnect.
Yeah, and I think most importantly for me, as we worked through this topic, I just learned that helping children move words into long-term storage in the brain, where they can instantly and automatically be retrieved, is surprisingly dependent upon phonemic awareness. And this sort of just kind of blew my mind to realize how connected phonemic awareness is to word learning, and how it contributes to this process called orthographic mapping, which is a big idea of chapter 4.
And what were some of the misunderstandings you encountered and wrote about in this chapter as you looked at kids' ability to build stores of words that they recognize instantly and automatically?
Well, Dan, what we're really talking about is high-frequency words, because any word you can read on sight is a sight word. But these are words that show up the most in print. And most interestingly, many of these words are actually regularly spelled and fully decodable. But we still have children learning them with flashcards and in rote memorization strategies.
Mm-hmm. And so that misunderstanding is that high frequency words can't be decoded when in fact they can. And the related misunderstanding number 3 is that children just need to memorize irregularly spelled high frequency words as whole units. And as we already kind of alluded to, this just have to memorize them approach, can't rely on decoding them. It turns out that all of those ideas are really a bit off, and that kids can and really should be supported in thinking deeply about the spellings of even the most irregular high-frequency words. David Kilpatrick refers to this as thinking about meaningful letter strings. And the brain actually needs to be able to make sense of spellings, to make meaning of the letter sequence before those words can be moved to storage. And so to do that, readers engage in this process called orthographic mapping, again, that we're excited to have included as a really important element of Chapter 4.
Would you say then that the role of Chapter 4 is really to help educators rethink the memorization approach? Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's fun. I mean, Chapter 4 is we think going to be the least controversial chapter in the book, because balanced literacy educators are already concerned about how they're teaching high frequency words. And so we're going to help them untangle this just have to memorize them approach to teaching high frequency words by getting a better understanding of how the brain really comes to know words automatically.
Yeah, and every kindergarten, first grade teacher knows the frustration of working so hard to get kids to know words and they don't know them, right? You already taught them. We feel like we've already taught that, and then they just don't know them. And I think there's a real relief in Chapter 4 in coming to know that, hey, we could go about this in a really different way that would work for the human brain. And
make it all a lot easier.
Success for children. Yeah.
Yeah. Easier for kids and easier for teachers.
Yeah, for sure.
And more fun, I think.
Well, thank you for that preview of the chapter.
Sure.
Thank you, Dan.
Shifting the Balance: 6 Ways to Bring the Science of Reading into the Balanced Literacy Classroom by Jan Berkens and Kari Yates is available from Stenhouse Publishers. Follow Jan Berkens online at Dr. Jan Berkens and www.drjanberkens.com. Follow Kari Yates at Kari_Yates. And be sure to check out www.the6shifts.com. We hope you enjoyed listening to The 6 Shifts with Jan Berkens and Kari Yates. Future episodes will look more closely at each shift. We'd love to hear your feedback. Get in touch with us at marketing@stenhouse.com. And please share this with your colleagues who you think would enjoy it too. Thanks for listening.